This is In the Name of Football.
Hello and good morning, good morning. Well, it's good morning to some people, isn't it? Um, welcome to the preview show and a review show today. Well, we've got a little bit of a review. In the Name of Football podcast, come YouTube channel coming at you, yeah. So if you want to see us, we're down the bottom here. See that? In the Name of Football podcast, go on there on the old Twitter. You can follow us. What we're going to do is today we've got a little bit of a preview and a review, like I just said. We're going to review the Arsenal game from last night, which was very interesting, wasn't it, Ash, being an Arsenal fan?
Interesting to say the least.
Also, we'll be previewing the United versus Brighton game, the FA Cup semi-final on Sunday. Me being a Manchester United fan, obviously looking forward to that. And obviously in there we might touch on the Sevilla result as well.
I was going to say, I'm sure we can have a little look at Sevilla and David De Gea as well after that absolute travesty that happened. You were full of it on Twitter, so I want to hear it on here as well.
Yeah, included also we will be looking at the Newcastle United Spurs game, which is obviously interesting for the top four, Champions League race, etc. And also, we can't review one FA Cup semi-final without having a look at the other, so we'll have a look at City, treble chasing Man City, game versus Sheffield United, again at Wembley in the FA Cup semi-final. We'll also look at some other the Premier League fixtures as well. Well, we'll look at all of them. But like I say, if you are new around here, we have got the podcast as well, which is basically a review of all the weekend's action. Generally, it is a look at our teams' games as well, because I'm a Manchester United fan, he's an Arsenal fan. And that's how we do it, really. We just go into some games and have a bit of a chat about football, don't we, bud?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how this one's going to go. And the end of the season, the way Arsenal are going, and it seems like United are going a bit of a downfall as well. So we'll have to see how that one pans out.
Yeah, it is actually interesting at the minute, isn't it? Obviously, we haven't got too many viewers at the minute. If you want to just check how it is going on the old YouTube to make sure we've got all the audio right this week, etc., that would be absolutely spiffing. So, yeah, because it has been a bit of a disastrous couple of weeks where we've been trying to do this, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, have a look at that.
We're both there on.
Yeah, lovely.
On this audio,
so let's jump into it. We are here every Saturday, like I say. So let's start it off. We're gonna look at We're gonna review a game, which is unusual for a preview show, I know, but because it's Arsenal, we've got to really. It's becoming to be embarrassing for yourself.
Is it?
Oh my god, he's still confident. He's still confident. Come on then.
Well, I just think it's a complete and utter overreaction from everyone. As always. It's a title race, and as I said to you, I think it was when we've had conversations about it. The only reason why a team in a title race is now expected to just go and win every single game is because of how ridiculous Manchester City and Liverpool have been over the last 5 years, where they aren't dropping points at all. And yes, I know we are up against Man City, who have won, I don't know how many it is on the bounce now, like 10, maybe more. But it's still in our hands. It's like everyone's acting as if we've already thrown the league away. Like, no, it's still in our hands.
Yeah,
we're still top of the league, and it's in our hands to go on and win it. So, no, I'm not gonna throw the towel in just because we've drawn a few games. We haven't even lost. Like, come on. It's
Yeah,
just
but that's the thing. I mean, you say that. It is okay. I don't want to really. Yeah, come on. Let's go into it. Sorry, like it's just the whole thing of what we've been saying on the podcast, or me in particular, with yourself being in self denial, is that you got a 2-0 win at Liverpool. You're 2-0 up at Liverpool. You're playing the best football you've played for a long time there. And then you go and throw away a 2-0 lead. And I said to you, maybe that creeps into their head. In the preview show against West Ham, I said that, and then obviously you blew them away in the first like 20 minutes, and then after that something happens in that game, and we can't quite put our finger on it. I mean, yes, the sack apparently missed, but also there was that little jeer up from the West Ham fans, which I mentioned, where they were booing because they weren't attacking, and all of a sudden they sprung into life, won the ball back off Thomas Partey in midfield, and it just sprung into action, didn't it? For me, though, it's like I just think like it was interesting last night that there's only two players in that Arsenal side who have won the league in England and been in that title chase, and they are Man City players in Zinchenko and Jesus, and I believe that is as crucial. So, like, if you are in the title race next year, um, then you've got that experience. Do you know what I mean? You've been there before. These games when you're losing 2-1, you might just go and get a free at a third and make it when you're winning 2-1 and they're on the counter and they're coming at you. You might just go and nick a third. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just that experience of keeping calm and stuff. I just think it's going to catch up with you.
well, yeah, and we're way ahead of where we were supposed to be in the project anyway. And all we had to do this year was make sure we got that top four. That's
Yeah,
pretty much secured now, apart
yeah,
from a catastrophic end, which that's not going to happen. And if we don't win the league, then so be it. We've had a brilliant year. The progress has been phenomenal,
yeah,
and as you just said, that then gives us a bit more of experience heading into it in the future.
yeah,
And you can quite clearly see that there is a sort of nerves creeping in.
yeah,
We're lacking that cutting edge, lack of composure as well. The Ramsdale goal, I don't know if you saw it, but
yeah,
that was
yeah.
David De Gea-esque. And what we were
Totally out
saying,
of character.
we'll
Sorry,
talk
just
about that later,
yeah,
obviously, but like that was similar in a way to De Gea trying to play a bit of a
mm,
hospital ball, but the difference was Ramsdale didn't even make it to the defender.
yeah, yeah.
And
Just
yeah,
touching on that before you go further, though, it's now looking like there's players in there who are becoming very consistent for Arsenal, and the cracks are now starting to creep in with them. So
yeah,
your Ramsdale, I think he's been actually like one of your best players this year. Thomas Partey, it's evident when he's not playing that it's a big loss to the team. But now he's starting to do a couple of mistakes. He's losing his composure. West Ham last week, what is he, mate? If I'm Arteta, and any one of them players on the pitch, I want to know why in the 97th minute you're 35 yards out, are you smashing that ball?
oh my god,
Like
I
you clearly scored a goal from. It was brilliant, and like, I know I'm not just praising him up, but Gary Neville was like, "Don't throw the ball in the box. Don't throw the ball. Play it calmly. Play it calmly."
yeah,
Zinchenko plays it calmly into the box, and you grab an equaliser from that, or I think it was the second. But it's just like no, it was
it's
the
that
equaliser.
decision making, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I just think you
We
saw that company moment versus Leicester.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah, it was. It was
yeah,
exactly that.
yeah,
He saw his name flash up in lights, and
yeah,
he thought he was going to be the winner. And yeah, it was silly. And
yeah,
yeah, it is that decision making. We're now recently the last few weeks. It's just those things where you sort of second guessing yourself, and perhaps not making those better decisions like we are early on in the season. But
yeah,
again, what do you expect? Like most of these players have never been in a title race before. Last season, we literally had the youngest team in the league.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's not going to be too far off this season.
yeah,
It's going to happen. And yet we still had the character and fight back to crawl back and get a point in that game. And that could be massive, that, that's that spirit and not giving up. It was quite clear that the whole team, throughout the whole game, Odegaard and Zinchenko and Fabio Vieira were trying to get the crowd up. Arteta trying to get that crowd up, keep everyone on side,
yeah,
keep the support going, and that's exactly what you want to see. If you've got players sulking on the pitch and throwing the towel in and subs coming off and they're slamming things on the floor and things. Yeah, it's different, but you can quite clearly see that everyone's still on board, still working together, and that's just football. And I
Yeah.
just think they're complete and utter overreaction, including Gary Neville, by the way, who's been an absolute twat all season. It's just ridiculous. It's like everybody's waiting for Arsenal to slip up and absolutely loving
I
it.
think, I
And
think,
I
I
don't
think
understand because you look at the Arsenal team, we play good football, we've got young players, we've got a lot of English players who are potentially going to be impactful for the next 5 to 10 years. And yet you're sitting here ridiculing Arsenal and absolutely lapping it up every time there's a chance or a sniff that we're going to drop points. I just find it utterly ridiculous. Like,
that.
especially Gary Neville last night. He was just on it from the off and he didn't stop. And then as soon as we drew back into the game, got a couple of goals back, you could tell he didn't like it, and it was just like, come on, like, do you seriously want Manchester City to win the league that much? Seriously want your treble, like title to be put under jeopardy that much that you're loving Arsenal dropping points? I just find it absolutely absurd.
That was your Kevin Keegan moment. I would love it if we beat him. Love it.
Not quite, but it's ridiculous.
No,
Like, I put in
I
my
get what
notes,
you
like,
mean.
fuck
I
off,
get what
Gary
you
Neville,
mean.
and
I get what you mean, but I actually thought Gary Neville was like, when you were like, he kind of got on your side when you made it 3-2. He was like, here we go.
Oh yeah, well obviously, because
And he was like,
backtrack as
he was like,
always.
but anyway, look, I didn't see the whole game, so I can't comment on that sort of things. But what I will bring up is, like, I did raise it to you, like the Saliba effect. You've now conceded 8 goals in your last 5 games. No clean sheet. No, it's 9 goals in your last 5 games. Only 2 wins out of them. No clean sheets either. So you've got 3 points from that, and I think that is a big. Well, I did say that. I think that was a big
Yeah,
loss, and
it is.
I
And
think if he's not playing on, I think if he's not available on Wednesday, which I don't know if he is, which you'll probably know a little bit more, that's not going to be good.
I think we are going to sort of try and get him to play. I think there has been recent reports there he's going to fight through it whether or not, and just try and play. But again, we've literally lost one of our best central defenders. Gabriel has not been anywhere near the same since losing his partner at the
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
Um, and even I think I tweeted a year or so ago that Arsenal won't win the league with Gabriel at the back. And even though he has improved, he's come on leaps and bounds and he's improved significantly, and I think
yeah,
he has been excellent this year. You can still see those mistakes creeping in, that little bit of rashness that was there.
yeah,
That's now creeping back in, especially without Saliba next to him. I think Saliba added in that extra composure and safety and security to the back, and that's now creeping in. I think you could always see that Gabriel was the better defender to Gabriel. Um, but I just think that again the fight back, it's not over. People acting as if we've already thrown the league away. That's just
I think
not the
I think
case.
I think it's just I think when you say people, are you referring to the media or are you referring to
Well,
Twitter folk
it's
or
just
what?
it's just sort of the general consensus, isn't it? Everyone, it just seems as though that everyone's waiting for Arsenal to bottle, like the commentary, and you're loving it. And I understand sort of from
I'm
your
loving it because of
perspective.
you.
Yeah, yeah, I understand that. And you're sort of trying to get one over me, and that's just sort of part of like the banter between sort of fans like that. I completely understand that. That's just how it is.
Yeah,
But I think when it comes to somebody like Gary Neville, who's supposed to act a bit more professionally, yeah, okay, you want to see a bit of personality come out at times, but I think he's just completely and utterly biased.
I
Like,
think I think
it was so clear and obvious how much he wanted Arsenal not to win that game. It's like,
the
you're on commentary, mate. Like, just chill out and try and take it in a bit more of a objective matter. Like, come on.
I think what I was trying to get at is the when I asked media personalities or like Twitter folk etc. It's because when you listen to Twitter, I'm not defending Gary Neville because obviously I didn't watch the whole game. I just listened to the aftermath with Carragher and I listened to all that, and it's just a consensus of that, especially Neville because let's remember Jamie Carragher never won a Premier League medal. Um, it's the experience of being in a title race. So Gary Neville's been on both sides of that. So I kind of think like when he's saying it, and I think one thing he said, and I think like you even tweeted it yourself, was like it was a must game for Arsenal, and if you're going to win games like that, you beat Southampton at home.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I
I was
accept that
disappointed.
actually.
I was disappointed when we drew at home to Southampton with 10 men because I know how bad they are, or have been, shall I say?
Tell you,
But
they weren't bad last night though.
no, no. I mean, obviously, I didn't see the whole game, but I have seen.
They
So I'm
were
just going to
good,
turn my
you
mic down
know.
a little bit. It's just coming through. The reading's a little bit high on that, so I'll just turn down. But I was just reading like some of the stats and stuff like that, which it's a tough one because I think Arsenal are sharing their goals around this season. So it's a bit of a weird question when I say this. It's a carbon copy of the Manchester United game. I saw that Arsenal had 25 shots, 6 on target, and I think in the Manchester United game it was like 28 shots, 6 on target, and I think it's a similar paint a picture here of where our Southampton had 8 shots, 6 on target, and I said this to you about United, didn't I? In the United game, we were in very similar stats. It's like, do Arsenal need a striker? But then they don't. Do you know what I mean? Because you're obviously scoring goals, but it's like,
No,
do you know what I mean?
I think
It's a tough one.
Jesus was uh, a little rash yesterday. His
Yeah,
touch wasn't there. He was snatching at his chances a little bit, but let's not forget he had a big injury layoff, and
yeah,
yes, he has played recently, but he's probably, he's not still in the full momentum of a run of 10, 15 games per se. So I think there's that to it.
yeah,
And yeah, I think we were a little bit like we're snatching at our chances a little bit.
yeah,
But again, it was sort of just Southampton were played quite deep. As soon as they had the lead at half time, they
yeah,
took off their forward who had scored and assisted and replaced it with the defender who ended up getting the third goal. Like
yeah,
everything sort of fell into their way for a lot of it. And get credit to Southampton. They played well. It wasn't a case of where yes, Arsenal we did make mistakes, little bit sloppy here and there, but Southampton were good as well. Walcott rolling back the ears. I
yeah.
was literally
Great goal.
thinking it as soon as he scored like that. Or I'm picturing him in an Arsenal shirt, like
Yeah,
Gary Neville was saying it, but instantly it struck me straight away. Like that's a classic Theo Walcott goal. He probably thought he still had an Arsenal shirt on,
yeah.
and they defended really well. Romeo Lavia was excellent in the central midfield. Yeah,
£50 million buyback clause apparently for Man City.
I mean, he's a quality player. His
Mm.
passing range, his tenacity in the middle. I thought he was really good. And as I said, there Southampton defended pretty well, but we still managed to fight back and get a
Yeah,
point out of it.
listen. Do you know what? When it went free, I'm going to tell you a secret. Well, not a secret because you know what I'm like anyway. That laughing, I don't know if you actually played it, but the message I sent you via WhatsApp
Yeah, I
when I was
did.
just laughing. I was actually going to send that in like the 75th minute, but I thought no. Right, because and then I come in, turn the
You
telly
still
on, and
sent it anyway.
yeah, no, I sent it after the full time whistle because obviously and it's similar to what you say. Like if you had lost that game, it would have been a whole damn sight worse this morning. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it was the manner. I get what you mean. It's the mannerism and the comeback. And if you weren't playing Man City still and they weren't so good, I think you'd be all right. I still think yeah, it's still in your hands. Blah blah blah. And it still is. I'm not saying it's not. It's just you've got to play City in that.
Yeah, of course, and
But
I understand everything that sort of everyone's sort of saying. Like, yes, we are showing aspects of ball in the league and that, but I just think at this stage it's a huge overreaction.
yeah,
Like, just
I don't think the
calm down.
reaction.
It's
I
not.
don't think the overreaction would be as big as if Man City weren't playing as well as they are.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like they're just, as we said, they're a machine. Like it's sort of it's unprecedented, other than for the fact that it's Man City and they've been doing it for the past I don't know how many years anyway. But when you look at Premier League history in general, the way in which Man City just win and win and win is unprecedented. As I said to you the other day, like Arsenal won the league in '98 with 78 points.
yeah,
you know that just goes to show the difference in how good these individual teams are,
yeah,
and sort of the competitive balance between everyone. It's different now,
yeah,
but again, it's just crazy to me that everyone's sort of expecting Arsenal to go on and win every single game in a title race. And okay, yeah, as I said, you sort of expect that because of how good City are, but let's just chill out. There's still plenty of time. It's still in our hands. Okay, if we end up getting bad at the Etihad, might be thinking a bit more. But
Yeah.
we're a
Well,
week. We're
you know,
less than a week away from that.
just a
So
couple of things. Arsenal have now conceded the quickest goals at home in the Premier League this year. The two quickest goals,
yeah,
one being Billings got all after 9 seconds against Bournemouth, and also 28 seconds last night at the Ramsdale. Oh my day, what
that
a
was
mistake!
shocking. That was shocking.
But I think that's quite good. I think Alcaraz was switched
Yeah,
on. That
good
was
finish
so
as
quick.
well. Very good finish.
And very good from Southampton. Like the way they changed to a back five, took off their main threat, and still managed to get another goal and get the draw.
Well, I
And
think it was good in-game management
yeah,
because at the start, when they brought that extra player back into the defence, I thought, okay, right, we're going to be able to really dominate in the build-up now. We're going to really be able to start
yeah,
in getting that pressure, and for most parts we were. But there was another couple of tweaks where he sort of dropped a player. I think it was Walcott dropped him back and more into the midfield, and that helped
yeah,
sort of help them in the build-up a bit more as well. So
yeah.
credit to Southampton. I thought they played well. It was good game management too.
Yeah,
Um,
couple of things as well. Zinchenko, first Ukrainian player to 100 appearances in the Premier League last night, which I noticed, and I think it's a weird one to say. Arsenal fans, quite. It's a weird thing to say that Xhaka was missing as well last night.
yeah,
And that was a standout thing from that. While we're at it, then, because obviously we can't review an Arsenal Southampton game. Let's not review, but let's just get a quick prediction and then we'll be able to cover it on the podcast. Um, we might actually have to do a midweek podcast, I think, because there is actually there's the Premier League's in full flow this week. So stay tuned for that one. We might get one out on Thursday, possibly Friday for you, where we can do. Yeah, try and get that out. But yeah, Arsenal Man City then at the Etihad. What are you saying?
Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, that's the big one, obviously, and that's where it changes. It's difficult to say because that Man City could have the ability to just come out and absolutely blow us out of the water, and it genuinely wouldn't surprise me if that happened. We are conceding a lot of goals of late.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but Saliba's going to be back. I'm keeping the positive attitude. We're winning 2-1 at the Etihad. We're winning the league still.
3 or 4-0 for me. I think they'll just trash it. I think. Do you know what? I wouldn't be so confident of a Man City win if they didn't have such an easy FA Cup draw, because I think they could be out of sight in half an hour and take Haaland off at half time at the weekend, and that's the problem.
Yeah, well, we'll save that for the Man City preview. But
Yeah.
I think, should we move on to United first? Obviously, Brighton versus United FA Cup semi-final. Joe Sayers from Albion Obsessed podcast will be on the pod on Monday's edition. But I think we should start off with United midweek 3-0 away at Sevilla. You were having kittens on Twitter about David to God hands.
Oh, mate, I am sick and tired of certain individuals in Manchester United's team becoming a scapegoat. Now, I watched that, and as soon as I saw it, I knew what was going to happen. Everyone's slating Maguire, and yes, I know he asked for the ball. Yes, I know he could have opened his legs and let it run because there was 2 United players behind him. There was so much more, but David De Gea is a 31-year-old goalkeeper, has played football in a professional league at a top club for 12 seasons, right? He can see the whole pitch. Let me ask you a question. Do Man City play it from the back?
Yeah.
Do Liverpool play it from the back?
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Do Arsenal play it from the back? There's a lot of teams who play it from the back now, but I would say specifically Man City are the team who like to do it, and they do it a lot of times, right?
Yeah,
They do it all the
predominantly
time.
Man
They're very
City.
consistent. But the biggest thing they do, they manage the game really well. I've just got a bit of an issue because something is like crypted up on my screen that's making it really. Yeah, there you go, it's done. No, Man City do it really well. When they're in danger, Edison just launches the ball.
Yeah.
Right now, but they are encouraged by Pep to play football from the back. He introduced that mainly, didn't he, into the game and created this whole playing out for the back and people trying to play it. So why on earth does David De Gea? I know he's been told to play out from the back because Ten Hag wants to install that, and they're trying to do that between them. But you're in a European Cup quarter final, the first 10 minutes of a game. The last thing you want to be doing is putting your players under pressure. That ball should be, if he can't pick out someone, put it in row Z.
Just launch it forward.
Just launch it forward. As long as it's over the halfway line and out of the freaking stands, everyone gets a chance to regroup.
Well, and that's what Arsenal do as well.
Yeah,
we don't play our back religiously every single time. If it's not on, apart from yesterday, clearly, we have been having the tendency to just launch it forward. And I totally understand. Yeah, De Gea, he should not be making that pass. He has the better view of the whole pitch. He should be the one who's not making that pass. But as I said to you, you can't. Maguire is still at fault for that because.
Oh no, of course he is. I'm just
go through his legs. As I said to you, he could even just boo it out for a throw, even if he lets it go behind him and you lose it in possession. There's still less of a chance of it becoming a goal and doing completely not the opposite to what he did.
100%. No, I agree.
But De Gea, he should not be making that pass at all.
No, he shouldn't.
And,
it's an interesting clip if you haven't seen it. It's an interesting clip if you haven't seen it. It's on Twitter. It's on TikTok.
Of like,
what? Sorry.
It's everywhere, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a comparison of like when Martinez received the ball in a very similar situation and he literally just like knocked it from his left to his right and just dummied three players and they just went to shit. They near enough collided and he just ran off with the ball. And I was like, but again, the thing I would say about that is David De Gea plays with Maguire every fucking day. It's not like he doesn't know his ability. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like, so to me, that's crazy. We all know Maguire is god awful. Well, actually, put him in a team who defends on the 18-yard box, he's fine. But he can't play football. He's not like that. He's a defender. He's an old school defender, right? And until Manchester United get rid of De Gea, I can't see another a title challenge. I know he's won the title, but he won the title with Vidic and Ferdinand and Evra and Wes Brown and the likes of in front of him and Neville and that. So I can't see United ever challenging until they get rid. The only thing I will say is I believe he will sign a new contract. But I think what will happen is they'll get rid of Henderson. Apparently the new contract is on reduced wages, and I think he'll become a number two. And I think he'll become a bit part number two as well, a very bit part. I think De Gea will, Ten Hag will bring in a new goalkeeper. The second goal, people can say, oh, you weren't really at fault, man. It come off his shoulder. It wasn't even a clean header. He's on the edge of his 18. He's not even on the edge of his 6-yard box. He's in between his 6-yard box and his goal line. He's in no man's land. He hasn't ever A, come to claim the ball, or B, stayed on his line. So you've got to do one or the other, right?
I was going to say, is this the second goal where
he
out? It's the second one, yeah. That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, he's got to come out and either A, claim it and take the ball. I've said this to you before. You take the play, you take the ball, you take the defender, you take everything in front of you. Or he stays on his line. Either option, mate, he wins. He that doesn't go in. As far as I'm concerned, we do not concede from there. And the third goal, I don't even know. I think Paul Scholes said it in when they were analysing the game afterwards. You don't actually, when the ball comes down, you don't even know if he's A, trying to clear it, or B, trying to control it. You just don't know which one he's doing there. And it's almost like in midair, he's changed his mind. The geezer's 31. He's played 12 years of football. Why is he having to change his mind midair? He should know. He should know before that ball even comes forward. And it just demonstrates everything I have said for the last, not 2 months, not 6 months, not 12 months. I've been saying this for frickin' years. He's useless. And I don't care. People go, he's a brilliant shot stopper who saved us more points than he had. No. I would actually say, I think I saw an interesting stat the other day. No player, let's include players in that, has made more mistakes leading directly to goals in the Premier League than David De Gea this season.
That's shocking.
Five.
That's shocking.
Five mistakes leading to goals.
And isn't he on 325 grand a week?
Plus 50. So it's 375.
Oh.
That's a basic, right? Now, fuck. And the geezer's
wow.
kept. Yeah, it's weird because he's kept the most clean sheets in the Premier League. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like, it is a weird one. But I can't help but think if we got a goalkeeper, and there was also, sorry, I'm going to go back on it. There was a bit in the second half as well, just after we'd conceded the second goal. You could literally play the Benny Hill music, you know, right? Because like the corner comes in, it's bouncing around in the 6 yard line, everyone's scrabbling for it. The Hayes just standing on the line like this, and it's just like, dive on the ball, create a foul. Do you know what I mean? Dive over everyone. You know that European referees generally take the side of the keeper. Dive over the top of the ball, just get the ball. It's like he is too afraid to get hurt. Now, if you're a goalkeeper, that's the least of your worries. You just go straight in. You know, it should be life or death. You should play with your heart on your sleeve as a keeper, and you should just be prepared to get any part of your freaking body broken, because that's what happens, isn't it? You know,
well, I think we've gone a bit too far on a tangent there with De Gea. You've got your little rant out again.
Oh, mate.
Another little rant about De Gea. Let's move on to the actual FA Cup preview now. So we'll finish that off actually. So De Gea, you put a little poll out on Twitter whether he should start or not. One, I'll ask you, do you think he will start? And two, do you think, obviously I think I know the second answer is that should he start?
Who? What? De Gea?
De Gea, yeah. Will he start and should he? I mean, I'm pretty
No.
sure he'll say
I mean, he will. De Gea will start.
Yeah.
I know he will. You know, and I think if Ten Hag had another keeper, he wouldn't. You know, but you know, the fact we've got Butland, you're asking me. You're asking me. He wouldn't be playing Sunday because it doesn't show. Like he might do it. You know, he might do it because he just might. But it's just like, it just shows that, I don't know, he's got to be ruthless, and I think, but it's a tough one, isn't it? It really is. You know, you've got to be ruthless and show you're the boss. But it's not like De Gea's missing team meetings and been seen out clubbing and he's breaking team rules. He's just had a bad performance, which is consistent. But I think it's one of the things where I've in particularly picked up on his distribution, but it's now the distribution has cost us, whereas before it hasn't. We've kind of got ourselves out of shit. But I think it's a tough one. But I personally wouldn't play him. I'd drop him.
I didn't think that would be the case. Right, that's enough of De Gea now. We've lasted too long at De Gea. But, I mean, there's clear other issues with depth. You've got a plethora of other injury issues. Obviously, Martinez and Varane are going to be out. Maguire suspended. So, Lindelof and Shaw, do you think will be the centre-back pairing?
Yeah, I think it'll be Lindelof and Shaw. I was a bit concerned that they risked Shaw and Rashford. I think it should have just been left. Shaw was even limping halfway through that and miraculously made a recovery. So hopefully he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and obviously Rashford not 100%, but came on at half time, which
looked alright though.
Need him back though because Martial's injured again. Whether it'll be okay.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's just a knock and just like get him off because of what he's been through. I think it might be that one. So I think Martial should play.
Big one for me though. Obviously, Fernandes was missing midweek due to suspension, but he'll be back. So you're going to get that midfield trio of Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno again. I would have thought. Obviously, won't be as easy as Forest, I'd imagine. You know, Brighton are a lot better side. They pose a lot more attacking threat. You know, with the likes of Matoma, McAllister, even Welbeck's got a couple of goals. You said as well, Welbeck could come back and haunt you.
Yeah.
And obviously the youngster Enciso last week, who scored a couple, including that absolute rocket against Chelsea. So it's going to be a lot different against a dodgy defence as it is, with plenty of problems. The midfield will obviously help, but I'm sure what are your thoughts? Surely you must be quite worried ahead of the game. Obviously, there's selection issues, not playing great at the minute, injuries.
You know, I kind of think it's one of them things, and I'm not defending. I kind of am defending United, but I'm not. I think this week, this game against Sevilla, yes, it's a high profile game. I think individual mistakes cost us. I don't think we were very, I don't think we were very sharp at all. The games are catching up with us. I personally think, I know you don't want to, but if that was me, I would have gone out in the against Barcelona. I think you should have just ditched it then, because I just feel that United's aim this year should have been top four, and the trophies are an added bonus. So if we had a League Cup, we had the FA Cup, or either or, and you finish top four, you're back where you want to be in that top four. And I know people love winning trophies, but the main aim should have been that. So I think that's catching up with us.
Yeah, I think obviously there was that big run of games where you're sort of playing very similar players, and I think you're now feeling the repercussions of that, of all
Well,
these injuries
but
piling up.
But this is what I said to you previously on the podcast. As soon as you take out a Casemiro or an Ericsson, you are going back to the same shite who dealt you a rough hand last year. I said to you, which is an interesting stat, which I brought up the other day. Manchester United haven't lost where they've had Casemiro, Ericsson, and Bruno Fernandes playing in 17 games. They've won 15 and drawn 2.
Yeah.
Now, that means to me that they're pushing. There's more confidence than in that midfield, and they play much better. And it's regardless to who's behind them, because we've had times where we've had Shaw and Varane, or Lindelof and Maguire, or Lindelof and Varane. They've changed the back four. There was a time where that back four was completely changed. Like every game, they were changing it. And I think we had 3 or 4 games on the trot where we didn't. So, yeah, I don't think people can really read too much into the injuries as such, because I think they've probably got the balance of players back. I think the main concern is the central back pairing, but I think Shaw and Lindelof, I actually think isn't too bad with someone decent beside him. I think he's just always had a bad partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you
play like Lindelof next to Martinez or Varane, I don't think that's an issue.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're not the Sweden captain for nothing. I know they're not the greatest international side anymore, but you're not. But look, let's look at that more. I do worry about Brighton. They've got some fantastic players. Matoma's been absolutely superb this season. Another great skate by Brighton. You've got what's his name in Cisco, the guy who scored the goal last week against Chelsea. Welbeck loves to score against our United. I think he's done it every time since he's left. He's scored for every club against United since he's left. I do worry about it, but like we have previously covered, Brighton haven't performed against the top clubs as well. I think it's something we were looking at. They haven't had exactly a tough run of results when they've had the Zerbi, have they?
Well, they've won their last. They've only lost once in their last 9, and that was sort of rather unfortunately against Spurs, due to the VAR beating Chelsea, but that's not really anything. They've beaten Liverpool this season, played well against us, but for me, I think they're going to give United a lot of problems. I know there's no Evan Ferguson, but I think I'm pretty confident that Brighton will win that game, especially after midweek. I really think that it'll be a Brighton win, because I think the quality that they have, I think that's going to be just way too much against that defence. Even if you had Maguire there, I think the fact that Shaw's going to have to cover, and I know Shaw has done pretty well when he has had to cover there at times, but I think no one's really fully fitness. Rashford's still carrying a bit of a not. Obviously, I know he returned, but he's not up to full speed, is he? Yeah, for me, I think Brighton should be winning this, and I think they will.
I'm a United fan, so I think the thing I'm looking at is you've got that midfield back. You're going to have the 3 key midfielders in there. I think one of the things I said as well on the podcast. Anthony seems to be coming into his own now. I think he was the only one who come out with a bit of credit from the Sevilla game. He's starting to actually take on his man now. I just think we'll have enough. I think the occasion might get to Brighton. I don't think they've got the players. Obviously, I say they've got the
Potentially.
players, but they've got McAllister who played in the World Cup final. It doesn't get no bigger than that.
Danny Welbeck's extremely experienced.
Yeah, I just don't know if they've got enough of it though. We just covered
Yeah,
that in the Arsenal
we'll
game.
see.
I am worried about what they have got some good threats. So like you say, and we do struggle against Brighton. So, but I'm still going to go for United win. But in extra time, I'm going to go 2-1 United in extra time.
So that's your prediction. Brighton to
Yeah.
win 2-1 extra time.
Yeah, and like you
United to win,
just
sorry.
like you said, we've got Joe Sayers from the Brighton Hove Albion Obsessed podcast. He's going to be on Monday reviewing the game with us, so that should be an interesting topic. And I think, hang on, before I go any further, I'm just going to have to go into the DMs because he did uh, give us a prediction. He's gone 2-1 tight win for Brighton. So yes, he did say that Ferguson and Veltman are both injured, so that isn't good for them. So obviously, being a Brighton fan, goes to games and stuff, he will actually have that more of an insight into
Yeah.
that. So yeah, that's my prediction. Your prediction was for that one, sorry.
Well, I was thinking the same thing as Joe. I think it's going to be a 2-1 win for Brighton.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I don't really blame you, really, to be fair with you. I have kind of like caned you this week, so yeah, for Arsenal. But yeah, no, I kind of,
I
I
hope the
do go.
focus has changed by the time we record. I'll be off for this Arsenal, and me and Joe can just absolutely go in at you for
Yeah,
United
yeah.
getting
Well,
dips.
yeah, but to be fair with you, I kind of see where the confidence comes from with Brighton. I do get it, and probably it's my heart ruling my head, to be fair with you. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, right. Where should we go next? Should we go into this? Should we stick
Sheffield
with?
United?
Should we? Yeah, I was going to say, should we stick with the Man City, the FA Cup theme, and let's have a look at this United, no, the City Sheffield United game, um, and see what we think of that, shall we? So obviously we've got the FA Cup semi-final. That's today, 4:45 kick-off, Wembley Stadium. So yeah, what do we think of this one, mate?
Um, Obviously you would expect Man City to win.
Yeah,
And the only way I can see it not being the case is if Pep does completely rotate his side.
yeah,
Throughout the competition, he has sort of rested a couple of players, here and there. You've got a few more sort of squad players playing, the likes of Julian Alvarez have played, Calvin Phillips have played, Rico Lewis has played, but I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not some bad backups at all, are they? They're
no,
featured when they've played in the Premier League, they've done well. And obviously, I think with Sheffield United not having either Tommy Doyle or James McAtee, Tommy Doyle's been ever present in the midfield.
yeah,
McAtee's on superb form of late. I think that's going to be really costly for them. And to be honest, I sort of we said about it before, didn't we? But don't
yeah,
like to see that.
no.
It's a shame that they're not playing.
Especially as they're two players who wouldn't actually get their Man City's first team. So
Yeah,
it doesn't actually affect them. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they've loaned them De
they've
Bruyne.
got them there. They've got them
Yeah.
to that place. Tommy Doyle's
Yeah.
rocket. Was it against Blackburn, I
Yeah.
believe? And
Yeah.
it's a shame. And as I said, I think you against Leicester when Pep did take off all those sort of elite players like your Haalands and De Bruyne's, etc. You did see their frailties creep in. Leicester did have a lot of chances in that second half. They could have got back into the game. Wembley, again, the semi-final, just sort of that underdog story. You never know what could happen. But then again, you could easily go and see Man City going and win 5 and 6-0, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But I will say that City have lost, I believe, their last 4 out of their last 5 games at Wembley. So not the best there.
They
So
lost against Liverpool in the FA Cup last year, semi-final, didn't they?
yeah, so there's potential, but I think you would have thought that the quality of City will shine through, especially without those 2 key players for Sheffield United.
I I think it seems so weird me saying stuff like this, but I just see the Man City steam train going on again. I see them probably picking their strongest 11. I see them having the game done by half time and bringing the players off they need to bring off. Similar to
You're getting
Leicester
excited for the City treble, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
You
No.
are. You
No,
want
because
City to
there
win
won't
the
be no
league.
City treble.
You want
because
City to win the league. You think they're going to steam train through Sheffield United. So you're getting excited for that treble winning year.
well, no, because hang on, will beat him in the final, and Real Madrid will knock them out in the
You're
semis.
not getting to the final. You're not getting to the final.
Well, I've predicted we have, so that's my prediction. So, anyway, you haven't seen my prediction for the game yet, anyway.
Yeah, well, I think
No, I think, like I say,
a few
I,
mind games still though.
I just think, I just think that they'll have too much, mate. I just think, you know, even if they go right, let's just rest Haaland, and I think with Alvarez, you know, what's he scored this year? 13, 14 league goals or 13 goals in all competitions. You know, that's still good. If you put his goals to minutes per ratio up, he's just absolutely flying. I just feel that they're going to have too much, regardless of the team they put out. We've mentioned before in the podcast the gap between the Premier League and the Championship. You know, they done Burnley 6-0, and Burnley have been pretty impeccable in the league this year.
Well, yeah. I mean, Sheffield United are in good form. They've won their last 6 out of 7, I believe.
I think it's irrelevant.
And no, it is because their loss was against Burnley. And you know, we're saying how good Burnley have been, but Burnley got absolutely trounced.
And weren't Burnley promoted when they beat them? So like the pressure's off. They haven't got to kind of win that game.
Yeah, I think so.
So you know,
there's a clear difference in the quality for sure. Again, Wembley though, it's a different occasion. It's not at the Etihad. City don't have the best of records, so I'm sort of trying to play a bit of devil's advocate here.
You are.
Trying to, you know, well, actually, I don't actually care. I want City to go through in the FA Cup, actually, and then if they do win the treble, that'll shut you up as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Right, so.
But I will just say quickly, Pep again with the mind games. Did you hear him after the Bayern Munich game midweek? He's saying just how absolutely shattered everyone is, and they're so tired and drained.
So is he kind of like thinking he's kind of like, this is what I'm saying, he's kind of like luring the Sheffield United manager, which is Higginbottom? Is it Higginbottom still?
Paul Higginbottom, yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of luring him into a false sense of security. They might play a weakened team here, lads, and then you just get Edison, Stones, Diaz, Rodri, you know. But let's predict. Let's go for predictions.
Okay, you want me to go first then?
Yeah, you go first.
2-1 Sheffield United. No. I can't actually seriously go for that. It's going to be 3-0 City. 3-0 City. They will just have too much quality. They just will.
5-0 City.
They're going to have too much quality.
Of course they will have. Right, let's move on. I'll tell you what. Just before, if you have you got your previews of quickly some other little games before we go in. We'll do a couple of more of the normal Premier League games which are on. Just rattle through a couple of them while we're looking at it, and we'll move into the Newcastle game. Let's go. Have you got them to hand?
Got the games.
Yeah. So Fulham versus Leeds is the early kick-off. What you got for that? You know, Leeds coming off the back of the 6-1 defeat to Liverpool, where Trent Alexander is now a better midfield player than Kevin De Bruyne.
Leeds, back-to-back poor defeats. 5-1, 6-1, not good. Fulham returned to winning ways in their last match. At home, I think Fulham will win that. I think they'll win 2-0.
I've gone 3-0. So Brentford versus Villa. Brentford obviously suffering their first home defeat when winning at half-time in the Premier League at home to Newcastle the other week. Ollie Watkins returning to Brentford, I believe. Is that true?
Yep.
And he's on a great run of form at the minute. I have gone for a 1-1 on that one.
1-1, interesting. Yeah, I mean Brentford have slowed down a bit recently. Not lost their last 3. Haven't won in last 5. Villa obviously flying.
Yeah.
I think that trend will continue. I think Watkins will keep going, and I think Villa will win. I think they'll win 2-1.
Okay, so if we do one more game from the Premier League, and then obviously that gives us 3 more games to concentrate on just after just look at after the Newcastle game. I'm going to go with the Palace Everton game. Obviously, we did predict the downfall. Well, no, we didn't. This is a weird one because we didn't predict the downfall for Palace after Roy Hodgson. We just questioned the second of Vieira when they'd had such a difficult run of games because we could see the games that were coming up were winnable, and then they appoint Hodgson and they win them, and we're like, well, we kind of predicted that, but if Vieira stayed,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. What do you think of this one? I don't. Yeah, I think it's
Close
very
one.
poor performance from Everton last week at home to Fulham.
Yeah, Everton not been too great recently. They're
Yeah.
absolutely shocking away from home as well. Palace got a bit of feel good factor around the get again. They should be safe. But I'm gonna go for a 1-1 draw. I think Everton will nick a point.
You do you? I've gone for a 2-1 Palace win. I just think at home at the minute, and Palace's recent run of results, I think they will come out too strong for them. And I think, like I said, I think Everton is where they're going to get their results and stay up is going to be at home, even though they did have a questionable result against
Yeah.
Fulham last week. Just quickly before we go into the next game, to quickly go into a bit more detail of a preview, should I say? Just a reminder to follow us at In Name Football Podcast down in the bottom right hand corner. This is the preview show of 4 games from the weekend's fixtures coming up, and we do look at some other fixtures in the Premier League as well. And the podcast is out on a Monday, usually a Monday. We try to get it out Monday/late Sunday night, but this week it will be on the Tuesday.
Or late Monday.
Yeah, actually, no, late Monday
Should
because
be
I've
late
booked.
Monday.
Yeah, I booked off Monday because I'm going to be hanging out of my arse, so to speak, I believe.
So you're gonna go there and not even remember what happened
Yeah.
in the game.
It'll probably be one of them. I remember like the Man City game last year at Old Trafford when it was 2-0, and I couldn't even remember what happened. I was like, I think we went back to the hotel room. I fell asleep, woke up. What was the score? It was like we lost 2-0 and we were shit. Oh right, okay. But yeah. So that'll be out on Monday for you, and we are usually about on a Monday. We tried to get out for a Monday morning so you can listen to it on your way to work, and we've got a good couple of guests coming up. Peter Blexley, QPR supporter.
The return of Peter Blexley.
It's the return. Yeah, it's the return of Peter Blexley, and some of the messages we've got. I think it's going to be a very entertaining show.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Right, so the last game we're going to actually go into a depth preview of is Newcastle versus Spurs. This is a Sunday game. This is before the FA Cup versus Manchester United 1:00 kickoff at St James's. Obviously, Newcastle sitting in 4th, Tottenham sitting in 5th, but there is a gap increasing there now. I've just been looking at this one a little bit more in detail myself, but there's a couple of interesting stats here going into this. Like Eddie Howe has lost 8 of his 12 games against Spurs as a manager, only winning 2 of them.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. And there is another one which I found, which Newcastle United are unbeaten in all of their league games they've played on a Sunday this year, winning 5. So I was like, oh, that's a bit of a weird one. And this is unreal stat. And I was like, are you actually sure? Spurs have not won a league match outside of London since beating Bournemouth 3-2 on the 29th of October.
Wow.
Since then they have taken
great, is it?
Since then they have taken 2 points from a possible 15 outside the capital, conceding 13 goals. But there is a couple of things in there. If Harry Kane scores 2 goals, he will match Wayne Rooney's all-time record of joint second of 208 Premier League goals, only behind Alan Shearer. And to go with that, Kane has netted 6 Premier League goals at St James's Park, only second to Wayne Rooney with 9 amongst visiting players. So potential's there for Harry Kane to get that record.
Again, more records for Harry Kane.
Yeah, but I think let's go, if we go into the game and like what's happened with Spurs recently. I just you've got to look at it. Newcastle coming off that 3-0 loss at Villa against Villa last week, where they weren't
great, were they?
They weren't great, but you just felt like also it was one of the games they did take a chance. I think it was Isaac or someone took a chance at like 2-1, 2-0. Like maybe they could have got back into the game.
Yeah, it wasn't a terrible performance by any means, but I think Villa were by and large clear the better side.
Yeah, 100%. But I think Newcastle United, and we covered this briefly on looking at Arsenal's fixtures coming up. I think Newcastle is now becoming a place like they're making it a fortress. Every time they seem to play a big game, like Chelsea earlier on in the season, Man City earlier on in the season, United, everyone like that, they're now coming there, and they've got that whole.
The
Even
support's
that
behind them
Newcastle,
again.
even the Liverpool game when they lost 2-0 or something, and Pope got sent off. I still feel that if Pope had stayed on, they probably could have come back and won that game
Yeah.
because it's just the atmosphere they're building.
It's a different kettle of fish at St James's. Obviously they're all loving it back on side again now that the Saudis have come in. And obviously, again, we just said about Villa, but that was away from home.
Mm.
Newcastle are a different team um, at home, and
Yeah,
Spurs not great at all. Obviously, completely and utterly throwing the result away against Bournemouth right at the depth.
yeah,
So I think Newcastle. I think they should be winning this one. Obviously, they're a lot better at home. Spurs have only got one win in their last four.
yeah,
But as you sort of said, the only sort of saving grace for Tottenham is Harry Kane. Obviously, he can't stop scoring goals. And Son, to be fair, he's starting to hit a bit of form again. He's got a few goals again recently.
mm.
Cracking goal, I think it was against Brighton, where he sort of cut in from the left and just cut that into the
Yeah,
top right
yeah, great
corner.
goal, yeah.
So yeah, should obviously it's a massive game for the UCL Champions League race. If if Spurs win, they're right back in it. But I think if Newcastle do win, I think that's pretty much good night Vienna for Spurs and their top
Yeah,
four finish.
100%.
Um, so yeah, for me, I think Newcastle will have a big improvement. I think they will know just how big the occasion is, and I think the fans will be right behind them. And yeah, for me, I think Newcastle are winning that game all day long.
Yeah, the return of Almiron, he's now back, hasn't he? His first game back against Villa. He's now been quite crucial to the way they play. They've got no St. Maximin still. Spurs got a little bit of an injury. They've got quite a few injuries. I was then looking at that as well. They've got no. They're checking like Langley's apparently late, and they're going to be checking on him. They've got Lucas
Who's that?
Moura.
Sorry.
Langley's out. Apparently, potentially the defender is it Langley?
Long way.
Yeah,
Long way. Yeah.
yeah, he's potentially out. The late fitness check on him. Mora, 3 game suspension finishes this weekend, so they're missing Emerson Royale, Ryan Sessegnon,
Sort of more
Bentancur.
depth players, isn't it?
But but they got Bentancur, which I think has coincided with a lot of their loss of form. He was very pivotal in their midfield. I think that's a
Yeah.
massive loss to them, and also Basuma, like he was a decent player for when he when he played as well. So
Never quite hit the same form as he did at Brighton, but again,
yeah,
they're two quality players, and yeah, 100% agree with you about Bentancur. I think
yeah,
he sort of was pivotal
yeah,
in the midfield for them, so that's pretty big.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. So I think but I still think, I don't still think, but I just going back to what we originally said, I still think Newcastle, regardless to whether Spurs had these players available, I think the way St James's Park is now, I think what Newcastle are on the verge of creating, I think it's different to Arsenal in terms of pressure, because I just feel like that it's not like they're slipping, is it? They've had that bad result against Aston Villa, but you take that away, and they've been really good. So you can't really. We knew that would be an exciting game last week. We knew that could be either way because you've got two formed sides. Whereas here you've got a team who are coming out of one defeat in how many of Newcastle, one in a row. I think it's very before
it's
that.
a different game for sure, and even
Yeah,
we were expecting it to be a lot closer, weren't we? I think
Yeah.
I said 2-2, you said 3-2 Newcastle.
yeah. So we still had
Um,
Newcastle win that. Yeah, but yeah. Well, I did.
Very
Yeah,
different game for sure.
yeah. What you got then?
I think Newcastle are going to win. I don't think Tottenham are awful away. They haven't won in their last 6 matches away from home. Lost 4 in that time as well. Draws against relegation candidates in Southampton and Everton.
Hey mate, you can't criticise a draw against Southampton.
Yeah, it was away from home. I'm looking at that form. You're not thinking Tottenham are going to
Some
get
teams
results.
draw at home to Southampton.
Yeah, that is true. Some
Both of
teams
us.
do draw,
Yeah.
and some teams lose at home to Southampton. That's how football works. Sometimes that happens. But no, I think Newcastle, especially at home, they'll have too much for them. I'm gonna go for, what, I think they're gonna get battered, and I'd love that because that would sort of cheer me up a bit. United lose, Tottenham lose, that'd make me happier. So Newcastle 3-0.
I've gone 3-1. I think Spurs will. I think they've always got a goal in them. So I'll go,
Yeah.
and I can see that being Kane. Right. So we've gone for a Newcastle draw. So basically, we were near enough securing the top four for United and Newcastle. Sorry, Newcastle United and Manchester United, because I can't say United and Newcastle because people will get a little bit kicking off about this whole Newcastle United thing. Right, so yeah, I think, to be fair, I think that does put the nail in the coffin for Spurs at the weekend, and I think that's top four gone for them. Right, so we've got three more games just to quickly cover. Let's start off with Leicester versus Wolves. What are you saying about that one? I think Wolves had a great result last week against Brentford. Um,
Yeah, Wolves certainly aren't bad at the minute. Haven't lost in any of their last three. Beat Chelsea prior to the Brentford game.
yeah,
Um, Leicester, as we know, have been shocking. Not been good one bit. Lost all five of their last home games as well. You would have thought that Dean Smith might be able to get a little bit of a tune out of them, like just that, like, sort of his quality per se, but more of just that new manager bounce that we've spoken about time and time again. Um, I'm gonna go for a draw. I think it'll
you can go for a
be.
draw.
I
I've
think it'll
gone for a Wolves
be
win on this one.
Wolves win. Yeah, I could see that, but I think I'm gonna go for a 1-1 draw between Leicester and Wolves.
I just feel that like Leicester on a slippery slope, and I don't have no confidence in Dean Smith. You
No,
know,
we sort of
so
waited at Norwich, didn't we?
yeah, Norwich, and I've covered it a minute. I'm not going to go too deep into it because we're just meant to be skinning over it. But the way Dean Smith was at Villa as well, he got promoted via the playoffs with potentially the best Championship player ever in Grealish, and then only survived in the Premier League on the last day of the season with Grealish plus 200 million spent. So
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Dean Smith. I just think there's only one way for Leicester now. I did have faith in them, and I thought they'd pull out, but not with him in charge, not at all. Unless he goes for the old guard and bring Vardy back into the light, I think that yeah, no. Bournemouth West Ham. This is on the Sunday. Obviously, West Ham still in the Conference League. So yeah, they're into the semi-finals of that now. So this game's played on the Sunday. Bournemouth coming off another great result away to Spurs last week. Yeah, how do you see this one going?
I think this is going to be a very good game actually, and I think that's probably the reason why they put that on Sunday at 2, because obviously we know we spoke about Bournemouth, their tenacity, their fight back sort of under Gary O'Neill. They've got some pretty good results, and West Ham, to be fair, they've sort of had a bit of a turnaround in their form. Good 1-0 win at Fulham recently, progressed through to the Euro, the Conference League, past Ghent, and obviously the draw against Arsenal, taking out that Newcastle barrier. West Ham have sort of improved a bit, so yeah, this will be a good game. Um, Bournemouth, again, it's tough because it all depends how gritty they can be. I think they sort of grind out results. West Ham will be a bit more inclined to sit back, which I don't think will suit Bournemouth to the ground. I think they're better sort of hitting on the counter attack, but I'll go for a 2-2 draw. I love the draws. I love sitting on the fence.
Did you quickly you like sitting on the fence apart from when it comes to Arsenal and the league title race? Did you quickly think? Did you think that game's on Sky? Because I thought you quickly said
Is it not on Sky? Is
no,
it?
no. The only reason why it's a Sunday is because West Ham play.
Yeah, of course. But still, it'd be a great game.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's not on telly anywhere. I don't.
I'll be able to watch it anyway.
Yeah. So I've gone for 2-2 in this one.
Oh, it's the same as me then.
Yeah, but when I was remembering how well Bournemouth have been, and then I remembered West Ham played Thursday night, I kind of like was talking myself out of it. Like maybe Bournemouth might win that. But yeah, a draw suits both of them, and I think we said that West Ham are now getting into that position where
A,
they're
w-
kind of creeping out of it.
a win would be huge for West Ham.
Yeah,
They've got a game in hand ahead of everyone. That would then push them up to 34. That'd be huge if they did so.
yeah. Okay, so we've got one last game to preview quickly, or give our like predictions on it because well, anyway, no, let's not worry about that. Forest away to Liverpool. How do we see that going? Obviously, Forest winning at the City Ground 1-0 earlier on in the season. Um,
Yeah, as we said before, I think Forest are a lot better at home. Away at Anfield, like I can't see them doing it. Liverpool, fresh off a 6-1 win against Leeds, um, clawing the game back against Arsenal, so they're in a bit more of a happier camp at the minute. I think Forest away will just be too much. They've lost their last, I think it's 6 or 7 games away from home in the league, so nothing but a Liverpool win. I think it'll be quite comfortable. 3-0. 3-0 Liverpool.
I've gone 4-1 on that one because I think Liverpool are just they're back to their usual selves in the for me.
They're getting better for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
100%. They are. Right, before we go, we do quickly have to touch upon it because we just have to because that's where we're from and that's actually we've got to show an interest and I do show an interest anyway. Norwich at home to Swansea. I haven't done a lot into looking into it. I know they're both teams aren't exactly where they want to be at the minute. Um, quick. What do you think? What do you think of the result on this one?
Well, it's just Norwich again, a strange team. They beat Blackburn away, and you think, right, they can really push on and make that playoff push there because they had Rotherham at home the next, and then an abject 0-0 draw. Then get spanked away at Middlesbrough, and then draw 1-1 away at QPR. And listening to what Peters had to say, QPR are pretty dire this season.
Hmm.
And then you look at Swansea's form, and they're doing very well. They haven't lost in any of their last 6 games, won 5 of those as well. So I think it's going to be a difficult game for Norwich, to be honest. And a win for Swansea might give them an outside chance at the playoffs as well. But Norwich, if they want to get in the playoffs, which I think they do want to, but realistically, I think they know it's probably not the best of ideas. They
Yeah.
need to win. Um,
Yeah, it does. It does kind of. It just kind of like make you think. Have the Norwich board took note and said, right, listen, just get don't get promoted. Just take stock and let's go again. Let's try and rebuild the team again. And I think that might be Norwich giving Pookie that chance to say he's leaving rather than renewing his contract because he's probably on a good wage. Are they kind of like you know what I mean? They've said to him, "We're not going to renew your contract. Your big wages," and he said, "Well, okay," but they've allowed him to say, "I'm leaving," as you know. So it's nice for him. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not dumping him. And I think that maybe they know they don't want to go up. That would be one of the worst things to happen to Norwich if they go up. I think they could come down with the lowest points total if they went up next year.
it would be great.
Yeah, but literally, I think it's one win in 10 or one win in 9, and they are still only like 2 points off the playoffs.
Honestly, it's
It's
crazy.
mental.
This whole sort of top half, like from 13th Swansea and up, still have a chance. You would have thought Swansea and Watford, they're on 59. They're a little bit further out, probably less likely. But I mean, the inconsistency in the Championship is just mental. It's sort of widely known. Just you can't bet on it. You can't
Yeah.
predict it.
What do we?
It's just
So
crazy.
so let's give a quick prediction. Norwich Swansea. What are you going for?
Yeah, I think Russell Martin's doing a great job at Swansea. At home, though, away from home, Swansea aren't the best, so I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for a draw, 1-1.
I'm going to go for a typical Norwich performance and a 3-1 win.
For Swansea.
No, Norwich, because
Norwich.
it's just what they do, isn't it? We'll draw to QPR, we'll get smashed by Middlesbrough, but we'll beat Blackburn away and we'll beat
Yeah.
Millwall away. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you're like, what just happened? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's just
Yeah, you could see that.
yeah, 100%. You know, like QPR haven't scored or won a game for like months. Alum con Norwich, bosh. Do you know what I mean? It's just so strange. But the only thing I will say, it will be very interesting and it'll be brilliant for the area to see the return of the old farm derby next year, because I do believe Ipswich will go up. I think it's the first time I've ever mentioned Ipswich on the podcast. Under Kieran McKenna, I think they're doing a fabulous job, and it'll be great to see the Norwich Ipswich derby again next year, because I think they will go up. It's a very tight league, but I think they've just got it in the bag. So I think that'll be nice to see that next year. Right, look, gone an hour, just over an hour. It's been another good. It's been another good. Yeah, it's been another enjoyable episode for myself.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that again. Just if you are new around here, we've got the podcast as well. Like I've said, we are out on a Monday usually. It will be Monday this week. Sometimes we are a little bit late in the week on a Tuesday because of like trips to Old Trafford, Wembley, Emirates, trips to Amsterdam, whatever we up to. Whatever we've got planned on our lives, so we can't just drop a podcast on a Sunday night like we wish to. Preview shows, we tried to do it on a Saturday. If you are new around here again, drop the subscription, would be great. Drop the follow on the In Name Football podcast over on the Twitter. We've also got the YouTube Twitter as well, which you can locate from the podcast Twitter. And also we are on the Facebook as well. And we just need to get back on the Instagram properly and sort that out as well. So give us a follow, share it around, be much appreciated. And there we go.
Hopefully United lose and hopefully Spurs lose as well.
Yep. Whatever. It won't be, will it?
What do you mean? I reckon it will. I think there's a good chance. I'm definitely backing Brighton and Newcastle wins.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm off to Wembley tomorrow. Day on the lash. Joe Sayers on the podcast on Monday. Brighton Hove Albion versus Manchester United will be a massive talking point in that game, obviously, on that podcast. So we'll go from there. Hopefully, Man United are in the final. And I do hope Newcastle win, because then Manchester United will hopefully secure a top 4 as well. Que sera, sera.